While editing the video, I realized that it is going to be far too long, so I decided to split it up. In this part, I will be talking about the experiences I have made while shredding and extruding filament. In the second part, I will be answering all the questions that have been written under my videos. The third part will cover important topics that David Pfeiffer pointed out to me, and he kindly asked me to create another video about. Hello dear friends, so today I will answer some questions that you have written under the videos regarding the polyextruder shredder and the Artme3D filament maker. I have been very busy tinkering, finding out stuff, and finally reading the instruction for use. Yeah, you know, we makers, we often like to just do things without reading the written stuff. I'm the same, yeah. I should have. It would have prevented lots of failures that I had. And I want to thank David Pfeiffer from the bottom of my heart because he was so patient with me. I could have prevented some things, but I also found out some things by myself that, that I will have to take care of more in the future, because I shredded lots of stuff. Because I didn't have the hardware in the beginning, I used the shredder that we had, the big one that we also use for PP, PE and HDPE. And yeah, I have had some materials that seem to have been polluted slightly. And yeah, there I knew where the cause could come from, but then I started really collecting the stuff really purely, and that was also a little bit of a problem, but because I was not doing it really precisely, or I was thinking that the people that gave me their material, that they really stick to the protocol, but they somehow seem not to have had to done that. Because, for instance, here I have my latest batch of shredded PLA, which has the perfect grain size due to the perfect material grain size the polyextruder shredder can achieve. And you know, other thing that I really took care of is that I really dry the stuff thoroughly. I have this food dryer here, which has different cages that you can put the stuff in then and dry it. I always use these vegetable and fruit bags. When you go to the grocery store here in Switzerland, Austria and Germany, you can buy the fruit open without external packaging, and you weigh it by yourself. It has a very fine mesh, so yeah, the particles, they don't fall through. Yeah, I did all that, but somehow, just as an example, and I guess this was even my own stuff that I collected, you have to be really, really aware what you're doing when you are taking your misprints and you're putting them in the bin. Not to choose the wrong bin. I looked at the filter. I will put a picture in picture so you can see what I'm talking about. There seems to have been a small little amount of PETG in this batch, and it clogged up really quickly. It was about 20 minutes after I started it, and yeah, it started making this here. And if I look closely with my glasses here, I can see some impurities, not only that it clogged with the white PETG, which I found in the CF, you know, in the mesh that is in here. I also found some other particles, unidentifiable. Yeah, in the mesh I also found some copper wire, which is not grabbed by the magnet. Yeah, there was one person asking me under his videos, he asked me, why am I always having such an inhomogeneous extrusion? Very skinny, very thick, very skinny, very thick. And this is what happened also here. I was extruding PLA, but I don't remember what I had in here. It was just the bag, and I threw all the PLA that I extruded, I threw in there. No matter what company, no matter what kind of PLA, because in the meantime we have, you know, the silky one, we have the PLA plus, we have all kind of stuff, you know, it's not pure PLA anymore. So this will cause, like when you're extruding, it will extrude very uneven. I will show it to you. It has some blobs in there. I don't know if you can see. Can you see here? So it's very, very uneven. And that will cause, later when you try to print with it, that will cause some problems. And I don't know if I can show you also the particles that were so fine. And they went through. And I don't know if this will, I don't know, there's something in there. And I also found some shiny stuff, so it doesn't seem to have been magnetic, because what I also do is before I extrude, I really thoroughly use a magnet and shake the bin that I'm using with the filament particles to get rid of all the shavings that might come off the blades here, or other stuff that you have maybe forgot to take care of. Because one time, that was when I was still shredding with a big shredder, I forgot an Allen key. You know, we sorted out the stuff out of a big bin from, you know, it was waste stuff that I got from friends of mine, and they're really producing stuff, you know, commercially. And they gave me a big bin, and we sorted out all the PLA, spread it out on the table, and there I even had so much material that I even was able to select it by colors. But then when all the big stuff was sorted, we still had some brims and support stuff in the bin, and then I just poured it out, and I thought, okay, let's make some mixed stuff with it, and I poured it all together in the shredder. And beforehand I had gone through with my hand, but somehow I don't know what happened. Maybe the Allen key got so well stuck in some supports that I did not see it. And then when we heard a loud noise in the shredder, and later I found out that there was lots of metal in there, and I then started using the magnet. I was not aware that was such a big problem, you know. And all the shavings, I was not aware that it's a tiny bit, excuse me, it's a tiny bit, but it adds on, because the filter in there, in the nozzle, it is so fine. It's a very fine mesh. I will put a picture here so you can see it, because that mesh has to be finer than the filament itself, so it doesn't clog the nozzle. So everything that is impure regarding temperature, extruding temperature, or hardware size, it will all get caught up in the mesh, and it will then show off later that the filament diameter, which is in the beginning perfect, as you can see, I even have a dial here on there now, after I have upgraded, and so I don't have to use the caliper anymore. You know, that gives a very nice optical overview of what is going on there. And so one sign is that you have something caught up in there is that the diameter, which in the beginning is perfect, gets skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. And in the beginning I thought, okay, maybe it's because, I have such different materials in there. Maybe I have to pump up the temperature, or I have to go down with the speed. And I was really crazy about tinkering there. And I didn't get that after 10 minutes, this thing was already clogged. I didn't, because I thought I was doing everything so perfectly with the sieve and the drying and with the magnet, and I just didn't get it that there could be other stuff in there, like PETG in the PLA that I wanted to extrude, or the copper wire. It must have been in the bin, because at that company they use, I think, the bins for lots of different stuff, and they didn't thoroughly clean it out before they put in their waste. I always do that, but others don't. Yeah, so you really have to be really, really picky what material you use. And in the future, for sure, I will not use material from sources that I don't 100% can trust and that I personally know. Yeah, because getting the mesh out of there and cleaning everything, because you have to take off everything, you have to clean the spindle in there and get everything totally clean so you don't have any impurities left in there, because it doesn't only it's not only about the mesh in there, because when the impurities in here are still there, they will flush through, and then the next filter that you put in there, the next mesh filter you put in there, will also be partially clogged again. Yeah, so I was so frustrated that there was a time when I even gave up on it. I was fed up with it, and then I did lots of writing back and forth with David, and I started reading the instructions. And in the future I will really sort the stuff by producers, so I know that, for instance, that there's not any PLA plus in there, no silky stuff, shiny stuff, just sorted out by materials, and then do smaller batches. I'm not going to make these big boxes again, these big bins where I have the shredded materials, and they make smaller batches. And if it only makes 500 or 250 gram filament, so what's about that? It doesn't matter, and then it produces a small spool. Yeah, here on the table, you can see the tools that I'm using, except of the dryer. For instance, here I have this little sieve. This one here has 3mm. I bought it from Amazon. This takes care that the particle sizes are not too big. As you can see, I have some filament here. So the first batch that I created, there I got spoiled, because there I used some filament from a person that makes only prints from one producer of filament, which is Purefil. That's located here in Switzerland, not too far away from me. And I threw in there some Prusum and PETG, so that was pure. He had a bin that was clean, and I didn't know. I was so fortunate enough, but I did everything right without even knowing that I did it. And so I got spoiled. I thought this would go on like that forever, until I started mixing materials, and that's where the problem started. Getting the material from the other company that didn't work cleanly. They didn't know, and I didn't know what I was doing either. So you have seen this. This is the first video that came out, or the second one where I showed off some prints. This is here my tea container. So after I was so successful with the red filament, I then shredded green from the same source, but I added also some green from another source, which I don't remember. And at first, it extruded really well. I even sent David some shredded material, and he wrote to me, "What's all of this about?" On my side, it extrudes really nicely. At first, it also did. This is, I think I created two spools before the problem started. So maybe the impure stuff was in the bucket, deeper in the bucket that I had. It was a bigger bucket, and so I was able to print some real nice stuff. Here, these are not my designs, but it doesn't differ from the material that I bought from this supplier. Yeah, really nice. But then, the longer I use the material, I think then the impurities came into play, because then the nozzle started clogging all over and over again. Mostly after about 200 to 250 grams of filament that I produced, it got so clogged in there, and I didn't know why. And I blamed it on the extruder, because that is where, I had the MK1 for not such a long time, and then I saw that David, he had the MK2, and I asked him if I could upgrade, and yeah, okay, so I rebuilt everything. And then from the beginning, I had the feeling that it was after I changed to the second version that the problems began arising, because then nothing worked anymore. And I didn't see what the problem really was. It was not the extruder, it was me not understanding what was going on. So, yeah. So I had lots of clogs with this one. Then I set this aside, and I thought, okay, let's try it with some black material. And there it was the same. So this has a very irregular diameter, because there are also mixed different materials together. I didn't have the blobs that I had on the one that on the PLA. I didn't have that, but it was very, very uneven. So not really usable. I tried to print with it, but yeah, on some parts it's so skinny that the extruder and the printer didn't even want to transport it anymore. And then I got so frustrated, I set it aside. Then I wrote back and forth with David. And yeah, then I started reading, as I said, the instruction for use, and then I thought, oh my goodness, yeah. And I at one point there was, I found the metal in there and all kinds of stuff, and then I understood, okay, it's really me not working clean enough. And since then, and then I thought, okay, because one time I also ordered some virgin stuff, yeah, and I made a decision, okay, let's swap from PETG to PLA, and I thought this would work better. But there I also had all these impurities, and I got so fed up that I thought, okay, let's use the virgin stock. And yeah, I made the clear one, and then I ordered some master batch, and this was working like a dream. You see, this is master batch here. So that one used 970 gram of the clear one, and only 30 gram of this one. This is really incredible. And yeah, then I got spoiled, So at the moment, I just want to produce filament, and I will start all over again, now with the knowledge that I have. And all that I talked about, I will really stick to, like a protocol, and then I will start creating recycled material again. And there will be some other videos coming out once I have got everything dialed in. This really works, I promise you, but you really have to stick to the protocol. I will now answer some questions that I have read under my videos, because under every video you will find that I will always try to answer the questions that people are asking. Not lots of YouTubers do that. Of course, when I feel that this is AI generated or dumb stuff, you know, I will delete it. That it doesn't have to do anything with what I'm talking about, or rude stuff that I will delete. But when people really ask questions that have to do something with what it's all about in the video, I will answer them. And yeah, so let's do that. I will change the camera because I will will have to read off the computer screen. Yeah. Just one last thing. Here is the large IX, and I'm printing one of these containers here on also on a spool of the virgin material that I have created. Yeah, if the recycling is not for you because you don't want to buy a shredder, then go ahead and buy these virgin pellets because they're so damn cheap. You can just produce your virgin filament, you know. The moment I've mixed blue and red, it is not 100% consistent color-wise, but might give a very nice effect when you're printing, like these color change filaments. But yeah, as you see, I have ordered here red, black, white, blue, and if you don't add anything, it's transparent. And you just make your own filament. You know, here this is PLA, but you can also buy PETG. And David Pfeiffer on the Artme3D website, he's a good source to get it if you don't want to source it yourself. But who cares? Then you make your own stuff and you don't have to order because it prints really, really nicely. And but if you recycle, let's say you have a bamboo lab, or you do multicolor printing, as such, doesn't matter which kind of printer you're using, you have lots of poop. And there you really know if you're using always PLA, you know, for multicolor, then yeah, you can create your own filament, because then you know it will extrude in the same temperature, you will not have the blobs, you will have no foreign stuff in there, and then everything should be fine. And you're doing something for your you know, green footprint, and you can reuse that stuff. It will always be a kind of gray if you're creating it from poop. But yeah, I like gray, so it's not a problem for me. Or if you're printing commercially and you really know what you have in your bin, and you're always using the same material, that's really perfect, you know, perfect way how you could make your filament. Okay, so let's jump over to the question and answers. Thank you so much for watching part 1. Here you will find the link to part 2. Please watch that too. It's very interesting.